Hello, you beautiful individuals. We are back again looking at Mr. Definitely Not a Doctor, Kent Hovind. Um, Went back to, found this one on YouTube this time because that video I found on Rumble was just horrendous quality. There was other ones on there that, weren't as bad, but, you know, this one's on YouTube and it's a lot clearer, so we'll just stick with this. Plus, it's about pyramids, and who doesn't like pyramids? They're cool. This one is Kent Hovind's response to were the pyramids built before the flood? And, man, where do we even start with that one? I mean, apparently the flood was about, what, 4,500 years ago, I guess? And pyramids were, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what pyramid you're talking about, too. I'm presuming he means, well, it says right there, the Great Pyramid, so, the massive one. But wasn't that like, I don't know, wasn't that like almost 5,000 years ago when it was built? Something like that? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't really matter because obviously this great flood never actually happened. So yeah, let's just jump right into this nonsense.
Seminar 7, I talk about why you better stick with the King James Bible, because all the other ones have real serious problems, including what we get into about the Great Pyramid, believe it or not. There's a video, I've had 10 people send me links to it. Oh, you got to watch this video because there's 100 years missing, and the Septuagint adds it because he settled when the Great Pyramid was built. They said you have to add 100 years to these first five guys here, first four guys here, five guys.
Yeah, add 100 years to those random people. That'll fix all the problems in your fairy tale book. That'll make everything make perfect sense. I mean, that's how science works, really. If something isn't coming out right, you just add 100 years here or there, then boom, just like magic, like your entire worldview.
Guys, 1, 2, 3, first four. So they're saying, he said that puts the timing of the pyramid differently than the King James has it. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about briefly here. I'll do a whole presentation on this sometime. But I called Gail Ripplinger, my friend in, could you get me the book, the black one that she writes, New Age Bible Versions, if you would. Do I have it here? It's in the library somewhere, but we sell it.
Dude, so, I understand. My quality of my videos are nothing great. I get it. My editing's not that good. I don't have any cool animations or anything. Like, I'm not the best at it. But dear Lord, does anybody on Hovind's team know how to edit? Like, there's so much of this nonsense right now that basically this whole first minute you could have just cut out, essentially, and just had some kind of an intro. How long is this going to go on? Give me a second. Okay. So I wanted to skip ahead a little bit because I didn't know how long he was going to ramble on. It seems like the actual point of the video is starting now. So let's hope, at least.
An internet presentation titled, Were the Pyramids Built Before the Flood? Is a veiled attempt to discredit and dismiss the Old Testament Hebrew text, the King James Bible, the Standard Bible Chronology, and creation science, which helps to expose the faulty theory of evolution. I'm not going to read the whole article, just a couple paragraphs here. The strange Bible chronology the presentation puts forth is based on errors in three scarcely used and obscure critical texts. The faulty Greek Septuagint. I'm surprised how many people say, well, it says in the Septuagint, blah, blah, blah. You better study where this Septuagint comes from, okay?
Why don't you study where your Bible comes from? What are you talking about? Like, you're going to criticize somebody because of, where their whatever choice of religious text or whatever he just said comes from. But dude, what do you mean? Like, what about your King James Bible? Like that, it's mind boggling that he can say that with a straight face, but yet you don't critically think about where your Bible comes from, where the words in it come from, where all those ridiculous stories come from.
and the Samaritan Pentateuch. You might want to study where that comes from before you put any credence to that.
Yeah, great advice, Mr. Kent. Why don't you, do the same thing with your frickin' Bible?
And the Dead Sea Scrolls. Be careful about that. These editions contradict the entire body of often used and copied Hebrew manuscripts, whose readings are now seen in the King James Bible. Keep in mind, in Psalm 12, I'll show you that in a second, God promised he would preserve his words. Okay, well, where are they? I would like to hold them. If anybody says, well, that Bible's got a corruption in it, well, then where's the correct one? So
That's a great question. Where is the correct one? Where's God's words at all? I mean, because I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain that any version of the Bible, or basically any writings throughout the entirety of human history, was written by humans, not God. So where's God's words, huh?
So here's the story about the pyramids. Now, keep in mind, part of the problem with the video that I saw, and which I watched twice, the guy did on the Great Pyramids with beautiful graphics, great editing, lousy content.
Really? You're gonna, I mean, lousy content? My dude, like, at least he, as you admitted, I don't know what video he's talking about, but as you admitted yourself, there was great editing and stuff. Why don't you try some of that yourself there, buddy, before you say someone else has lousy content?
He talks about the pyramids plural. The question is really about the Great Pyramid. All the other ones are...
No. I mean, pyramids plural would be the more correct way to look at it. Like, there isn't just the Great Pyramid. There's a crap ton of pyramids all over the world, but obviously we're focusing on the ones, around Egypt or whatever, but it's not like the Great Pyramid's the only one.
Are miniature copies the Egyptians built of the big one. Apparently.
No, that's not correct, is it? Is he trying to say, like, the Great Pyramid was the first one? That wasn't the first one, was it? Because I thought didn't they build pyramids before that, like, fell over even? Hold on, I gotta look this up. Yeah, so I mean, how can you say they were copies? Apparently, the first pyramid was whatever this one is, in 2700 roughly BCE, and the Great Pyramid was started around 2500 BCE. So it wasn't the first one that people then just copied and made miniature versions of. And again, like that you're acting like that's the only pyramids. I mean, there's pyramids everywhere, my man. Anyway. All right. Let's continue with this nonsense.
They saw the big pyramid and said, we want to be buried in one of those. And so they had all their slaves build them a small version of it.
And they weren't built by slaves. They were built by highly skilled architects, or whatever words you want to use, workers. Like they weren't all just, like, it wasn't just built by slaves. These were highly skilled craftsmen who built these pyramids to honor and dedicate it to what they viewed as their, basically God. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm sure there were pyramids or somewhere around the world built by slaves. I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert at all. But it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain the Great Pyramid was built by skilled craftsmen, not slaves, nor aliens, as some people will claim.
But the big one is what the question is about, not all the pyramids. So there are 4 theories about the Great Pyramid. 1, it was built by godly people before the flood to be some kind of symbol. 2, it was built by heathen before the flood. 3, it was built by godly people after the flood, again to give some kind of symbol for Christianity or whatever, or built by heathen after the flood. I doubt it was built during the flood.
Oh, wait, you forgot one.
Huh?
Aliens.
Aliens. Yeah, aliens. Okay.
See, and this is the biggest issue with your worldview and having to make everything fit around this ridiculous book of yours. Like this whole nonsense. Like, I instead of just talking about the pyramids, how they were built, you know, the amount of work and craftsmanship that went into them, you have to tie it and somehow make it fit this ignorant young earth narrative that you have in around this flood that never happened. Instead of, I mean, you could make a genuinely interesting video just talking about the pyramids. The pyramids are freaking cool. Like, I mean, for the very, very long time, it was the largest structure on Earth. And, uh, and, just to add the whole alien thing, like, listen, I mean, sure, is it technically possible? I suppose. I mean, definitely don't think it was aliens, but, whatever. If you're just going by the mindset that anything's possible, sure. Um, but it's just like it's more likely that people back then seen the biggest thing, the most tallest thing they would have been able to see were mountains. And what I mean, how that the it's going to be the easiest way to stack rocks to make it as tall as possible is in a pyramid shape or roughly the shape of a mountain. I mean, I'm just saying it makes way more sense to me than aliens did it or any of these four weird, whatever, godly people or heathen or whatever nonsense he's spewing.
The Great Pyramid is the one that's in question. The rest of them, I don't think anybody argues. They know who built them because the guy's name is plastered all over the place in hieroglyphics. This is King George, the greatest guy that ever lived, So
It the Great Pyramid doesn't have all the fancy hieroglyphics because it was one of the first ones built, and it was built at a time when their culture, they didn't do that in their culture. I mean, you act like people act like these pyramids were built, you know, 10 or 20 years apart. I mean, there's thousands of years apart in between, or whatever, not maybe not thousands, but like 1,000 or so years apart in between some of these pyramids. And cultures evolve, artistic styles evolve. So eventually, yes, they started adding all the fancy hieroglyphics and all that stuff, just like the whatever that's called, the Hall of Kings, or I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, after time went on, they started adding all the fancy artwork and stuff. But the Great Pyramid, that was before they did all that fancy artwork and stuff. So that's why there is none in there. It's why it looks so quote unquote boring on the inside in comparison. Because it's a tomb. It was meant to hold a dead body. People weren't meant to go in there. It was just a final resting place. Like it wasn't meant to have a bunch of people going in and checking it out.
they were built to honor themselves. Okay. The Bible says in Isaiah, in the last day there shall be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof. It shall be a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. Now, the Great Pyramid is built right on, I've heard, right on the dividing line between northern and southern. When Egypt had a civil war, it was on the line, north and south of the pyramid. They call it Upper and Lower Egypt. To us, Upper is north. To them, Upper is higher elevation. So it's actually Upper's south. But who cares? The Great Pyramid is fascinating. It has one entrance.
Is what he said true? If anyone knows, please comment below, because I have no idea if any of what he just said was true there.
Which leads all the way down to the pit. However, you can choose to take the narrow way, which takes you up to the king's chamber. You have a choice. You want to take the broad way down to the pit or the narrow way to the king's chamber. There's a sermon in there someplace, I believe. Okay.
You weren't supposed to be going to either place. I mean, they were so narrow and hard to get through. Well, for one, for structural integrity, because it's a massive pile of rocks, and the least amount of hollow space inside, the better, because the stronger it's going to be and the better chance they have that it holds up, as they learned from the pyramids they built before this that collapsed. But most importantly, it wasn't meant for people to get up in there. It was just a final resting place. It was a tomb.
As you go up the narrow way, it widens out into the Great Gallery, which has 153 steps. 153. Remember when they caught all the fish in the New Testament? They said how many fish were in that big net? 153 great fish. Why 153? Well, Google my YouTube article I did, or on, I forget what's on our website someplace. 17. What a number. 17 times 9. It's in my Why on Earth Did God Let This Happen book.
Well, there you go, folks. That proves it. I mean, 153 steps, 153 fish or something. God's real. Science is wrong. The world is only whatever he says it is, 5,000 years old or something. There you go. All because of the number 17 and some other whatever else he's spewing. I mean, does he listen to himself talk? Like, I know I'm an idiot, and I know I say ridiculous things that don't always make sense, but at least I'm aware of it. I mean, did he hear anything he just said there? Like, oh my
God. 17, what a number. Let's see if it's in this one.
But you did do a YouTube video on it.
I did a YouTube on it. Let's see.
Why don't you do, like, I don't know, a peer-reviewed article? Like, why don't you do something like that on it? So other scientists, even creation scientists, as you call them, can review it. Ugh, my Lord. And, you know, that's another thing that bugs me too with his, like, creation scientist things, that he always, like, any scientist that's slightly religious, he wants to try to claim as a creationist scientist, and that's just not how it works. I mean, you're not a great scientist because of God. You would be good regardless of your belief, as long as you're actually doing science and not just claiming the world is 6,000 years old because of the number 17 and 153 fish and 153 stairs or whatever he said.
It must be in book 2. That's only available as an ebook, not available. Just go to the website, Dr. Dino. Anyway, 1 plus.
Yes, go to the website. Give him more money. That's what he needs. More money to spew more hate and nonsense and lies into the world.
2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 all the way to 17 is 153.
Whoa! I mean, is that like the revelation I'm supposed to have? You can do basic arithmetic.
Middle number between 1 and 17 is 9. 9 times 17 is 153. 153 is the only number, one of this, I think it's the first number, where it's the sum of the cube of its digits. What? 1 times 1 cubed plus 5 cubed plus 3 cubed comes back to 153. There's all kinds of cool stuff about it. I taught math for years. I like that stuff. Anyway.
Dude, that's not, you sound like one of those numerology people. Like, you can find correlations between in almost anything. It's numbers, it's maths. Okay, I'm done with this. Screw this nonsense video. Thought we were going to talk about pyramids, and maybe he does go on and talk more about it. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it. I doubt it though, but I can't listen to this nonsense anymore. Frickin' 153 fish and steps. I don't even know what to say. What a moron. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time.